said that there are people meeting in back rooms to figure out how to knock these buildings down. If we don't get a hold of this right now, guess what's going to happen? They're going to knock them down because they don't think that you got a voice. They don't think that you guys care about what's going on in your community. Well, we're going to change that. That's why I started the organization, Housing Residents First, and that's exactly what it stands for. We're going to make sure that they recognize the 500,000 registered voters in public housing is going to get their voices heard, and they're going to make sure we identify those that should be representing our communities and those that we're going to elect to office and get all that craziness out of there. That's what this is all about, folks. It's not about me.
Good evening. This is Hakeem Abdul-Jabbar for the Objective Opinion, and we are located in Manhattan at the New York City Law School, where there is a debate going on right now about the public advocate. The public advocate is now up for grabs, as Letitia James is now moving on to the Attorney General. So we are sitting out here today to get interviews from the representatives and the people that are actually in attendance here tonight. Now, there are 3 different organizations that are sponsoring this here presentation. You got the AARP, you got the Citizens Union, and the New York Law School sponsoring this here event. So we want you to stay tuned as we try to catch some people to find out who they really want to be your next public advocate. Abdul Hakim for the Objective Opinion, always on the scene. Peace.
Texas, we know what Amazon does. They've already displaced so many small businesses in the city, and now they're taking it to our city on the land itself. Politicians should know that before they sign on to a letter, not after the process. That is why public advocacy exists. They have to be independent, special interests, political machines, and this is a nonpartisan election. Remember that.
Thank you. So I'm going to switch up to talk first. Sometimes that means that some of you sit for an extended period of time before you get a talk, but it comes back around to you quickly. So we're actually going to come back and start with Ms. Smalls in the middle and work our way around back towards me and then to the other end. Okay, so Councilmember Williams will speak last in this round. All right. I want you to describe how you see the role of public advocate, but if everybody could start with, first, what's the #1 responsibility? What do you put above all else when you think about what it means to be the public advocate?
Working on behalf of New Yorkers, and city services are being provided to New Yorkers in the best and most efficient way possible. There's lots of reasons why that may not be the case. It could be corruption, it could be inefficiency, it could be the inability to get things done, and so I think the public advocate needs to look at the full suite of issues about why we cannot solve some of the city's most intractable problems, which I would put at the top of the list: the subway, affordable housing, homelessness, as well as voting reforms. The public advocate is an elected official that's elected by all 5 boroughs of the city, and so therefore, just like any other citywide elected official, should be talking to anybody that has problems over the issues that affect New York City residents. And that means talking to the governor if necessary, that means talking to the legislature if necessary, and that means talking to the federal government if necessary. And that's what I would do as public advocate.
Thank you. Senator Blake, the #1 responsibility, and then the rest of the way you see the role.
#1 responsibility is to be the watchdog of the agencies and fight for the people. And again, the last 24 hours was clear and evident of this. A deal that was discussed and decided upon in the middle of the night that no one knew about in any real manner. When you see what's happening when it comes to night shift, and again, what Judge Pauly conveyed, when you think about affordable housing and the proposals that have not actually moved the needle in any real manner across our city, when you think about what's happened with the Department of Education and clear, not just ineptitude, but problems across the board with community schools and renewal schools, that is exactly why you need a public advocate. And you have to be one that can connect what's happening, city, state, and federal, to make opportunities and results on the ground. We are looking at what's coming up next year. When it comes to immigration, when it comes to education, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to housing, how will you be a watchdog to stand up and fight for the people? Now, of course, when you think about the opportunities, you have the opportunity to introduce legislation through City Council. You have the opportunity, of course, for oversight. I do think you need to move forward in the way that Tisha has conveyed and what she's done successfully in utilizing lawyers to stand up for the people as well. But fundamentally, when you are deciding who has achieved things and who will fight for you, the #1 priority is to be the watchdog of the agencies on behalf of the residents.
Thank you. Senator O'Donnell.
The #1 job of the public advocate is to be the critical eye on the way the government is providing and not providing services, which which means the most important thing is independence. Independence from the mayor, independence from the governor, independence from those power brokers, so you're willing to stand up to them. You also need someone who has experience doing investigations, like I do. Because when I was chair of the ethics committee, I had to investigate Vito Lopez for sexual harassment, which was not a pleasant thing to do. But I completed an investigation in 6 weeks in full compliance with the EEOC and used my subpoena power to get to the root of the story. So the first piece of legislation I intend to introduce is to give the public advocate subpoena power to be able to beef up their investigations to ensure they get to the truth of the matter. Thank you.
Ms. Collins?
The public advocate is there to shine light in all the dark places of the city, expose it, and take it on. Yes, the public advocate is the watchdog of the city, but there are a lot of root causes of the problems that we face that hit every single community. From NYCHA housing not receiving proper funding, to these deals that are happening, these tax breaks that started in the 70s and are happening right at our doorstep today. These are the reasons why our communities cannot afford to live in their homes anymore. This city is unlivable. So what the public advocate can do is catch these things early on, to catch the deals at the local level, to see how the machinations of political parties are working with special interest groups, to cut deals in government, to pass bills. I propose right away to make this office truly independent of the mayor and make it so that we propose a charter commission so it is not second to the mayor. That'll stop a lot of politicians from being in an office that's supposed to be an independent watchdog of the city.
Thank you. Back to you, Councilmember Espinal.
I believe the public advocate, yes, should be a watchdog. Yes, should shine light on the issues. Yes, be able to push the mayor when he's not making the right decisions. But I also believe the public advocate should be responsible for making sure that we have a plan that's going to benefit the future of New York City. For example, we're right now a city that's driven by crisis. Every time we have people talking to City Hall, it's because something went wrong. NYCHA's crumbling, the MTA's crumbling, but no one's talking about what are some sustainable solutions and how the city should move forward to make sure that those problems do not end up in our steps of City Hall. So I do believe the public advocate should put a platform that not only finds ways to address those crises, but also finds ways that we can make sure we're heading in the right direction. So as public advocate, that's what I plan to do. Push the mayor when there's a lack of leadership from City Hall, from Albany, be able to be that voice that says this is the way we should be going, and this is what the people want.
Thank you, Councilmember Robles.
Thank you very much. The most important job that the public advocate has is to be a check on the mayor. You know, we have a strong mayor system in this city that has been set up by the charter revision, and the office of the public advocate was supposed to be, or was designed to be, I believe, a check on the power of the executive branch in this city, not a rubber stamp. You know, Mark Green drove Rudy Giuliani crazy on many issues, but he did a very good job. He was very effective at being a check on the mayor. Betsy Gopalm was a very fair but critical of the Bloomberg administration at times when there were issues that were happening or things that the administration was ignoring. Tish James did a very good job being a public advocate, shining light on waste, fraud, inefficiencies in various city agencies. But I think that sometimes when the public advocate and the mayor belong to the same party, that people expect or want them to get along. That's not the way it was designed to be. That's not the way it was supposed to be. And there are many areas where Mayor de Blasio has failed miserably in the city. And I think the press gives him a free ride sometimes, because if it was Mayor Bloomberg or Mayor Koch or Mayor Dinkins or any other mayor in the city's history, they would have been given a much harder time over this. But that's where the job of the public advocate comes into play, to be a check on the mayor, to hold the mayor accountable, and to be an independent voice for the people of the city of New York.
Before Mr. Williams, Councilmember Williams speaks, just on behalf of the press, Mayor de Blasio does not agree with that assessment. So we have that straight. Councilmember Williams, go ahead.
Thank you. You know, we should go to the charter. The charter is abundantly clear on what this job is supposed to be. Let's be clear. The position has been around in some form since the 1830s. But when they decided to make it an elected position, they said it should be an ombudsman and a watchdog. So that is the #1 thing that this office should do and do effectively. One of the things that I think hasn't been used is this charter cop. The public advocate is empowered to make sure that agencies are doing their job according to the charter. So I want to use that even more. I want to make sure that people feel someone is watching the mayor, the city council, the agencies to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. I want to say something else. I want people to listen to what's being said, because we can all talk about what the issues are. And the reason I said I wanted to be an activist elected official is that I needed the activists to be able to point those things out, but the elected official to help solve the problem. And so I didn't just talk about what these problems are with gun violence. I didn't just talk about what the problem is housing. I passed legislation and I changed policies, whether it was friend or foe, the mayor or the governor. I stood up and said wrong is wrong. And that's what we need in the public advocate's office. Someone who's going to raise the issue and then be able to solve it. Whether it was going from 20, I probably created more jobs than the governor, definitely more jobs than Amazon. We are now up to 70,000 youth jobs in the city of New York. I said if you're going to give money to the $5 billion of the police department, we have to make sure that every single young person in this city can get a summer youth job, because the biggest way to address youth crime is a job. And so we don't just need words, we need solutions, and I've proven to be able to do that no matter who is in the way.
Okay, quick, before we get to the next round here, just a quick sort of jump ball. Councilmember Ulrich pointed out 3 of the 4 people who've held the office of public advocate and gave them praise for something. Does anybody want to jump in with something they've seen done by a prior public advocate that is something they think they would emulate in the role?
I mean, I think what I love most about politicians.
In New York Law School, where they are actually holding a debate for the public advocacies, basic new candidates moving into 2019. But the problem with this whole thing is that your elected officials are also moving to eliminate the new public advocate. Now the question is, why are they doing that at such a crucial time? They have a total of 7 candidates sitting on this panel here today, and they're all actually pushing for the public advocate seat. If you know little to nothing about the public advocate seat, it is basically a watchdog position used by the city of New York, where the activists in the community oversees what goes on in politics. As far as the city council is concerned, it's basically local. It's not brand, it's just local. And they deal with issues that are actually affecting the city council's office and the mayor. So recently, you have had 2 high-power elected officials chose those positions and have moved up in the rank as a result of using those positions. And I can speak towards both of them because I personally walk with them through those levels to reach those destinations, starting with Mayor de Blasio. Mayor de Blasio ran for mayor in 2013. And at that time, Bloomberg was the mayor, a mayor that was obstructing the whole structure of the city of New York. He had to go at that present time. The watchdog that was chosen was Mayor de Blasio, who was also at that present time the public advocate. People lose sight of how all of this transpired or how it came to be. De Blasio at that time had the support of the activists in the streets that allowed him to actually become the mayor. And during the same time, Letitia James, who was also running for the seat as a public advocate, had the support of activists in the streets. So you had 2 individuals that had the support of the streets from the local level, grassroots level, who actually went through the ranks and came to public office as a result of them going through the ranks. But people often forget, and they are remiss when they actually deny the fact that the public was actually the main factor that ushered them into office in the first place, due to some injustice that the people were suffering in their immediate communities. And those injustices still exist to this very day, although they are still in office. And in many cases, Letitia James, now moving to the Attorney General's position in January, has a better opportunity to address the concerns of the immediate constituents to which put her in office in the first place. But that brings us back to the public advocate. Here at the New York Law School, you have about 7 candidates in here for the New York public advocate moving forward in January. Out of all of these candidates, I can only say one is a true advocate in the streets of New York and the tri-state area. That's only one. Now, I'm going to reserve that information till we get that individual here to interview them. But when you look at all 7 candidates, you have to ask yourself one question. One public advocate, or the person that's pushing for public advocate, is not here. And the question is why? Why is that one person that the advocates in your community is endorsing is not here, is not available to speak at this debate at the New York City Law School? This is a prominent question that needs to be asked, and that person would be Tony Herbert. Tony Herbert has been a public advocate in our community from the beginning when de Blasio was an advocate himself, and has been there ever since, fighting for the very same issues that every one of these candidates on this panel would claim that they're going to fight for. But you must also understand, people put other people in office for their own personal gains. There is big funding in support of this here gathering. I got at least 3 organizations that will fund the individuals that are here running for public advocate. That's just one aspect of the big story. But as always, the objective opinion, we go wherever you're at and wherever they won't let you go to get to the facts. So we're going to wait until this event is over, and we're going to interview at least, I can say three of the actual individual candidates running for public advocate here in New York City, and get their true intentions. Because I'm hearing a lot of sound bites right now. Everybody wants to help nature, but we heard that, what, 5 years ago? From people that are in office today. Many people want to deal with the transit issue. We heard that 3 years ago from people that are in office today. So I'm optimistic about the one harsh reality that there is still an issue that we need to actually address. And who are we going to put in the seat to address it? Another soundbite? Somebody that got good talking points? I don't believe so. This is Abdul Hakim Adel for the Objective Opinion, coming to you live from New York City Law School. I never should have got out of law school. I should have stayed in law school. But hey, you get what you got. Hey, stick around. We're going to bring some people out here for the interview. Peace. Okay. Oh, well, we're going to try to get one of the people to give us an interview real quick. Sir, how you doing, sir?
How are you?
So how did you like it?
I thought it was very good. Honestly, a lot of people, the thing about it is to get money,
Yeah.
not to do the job to be advocate.
No, it's not.
It's going to be able to watch and go over stuff and be an advocate. If that's what you ideas, what do you ideas I like? I have to be paid for making paper. Well, you can accommodate.
Okay.
Something like the person said. They should do that with college students. Not only security.
So they took the civics out of school.
Right.
That was the problem.
They should put that in there. What they should do is, let's say a person's going to grad, need the paper, we work with the government,
Yeah.
and we have to give them the city a lot of value on the house. Yeah. And a lot of brain power. We would love the students getting computers, so it can be done on that.
And we'll be better informed moving forward
Absolutely.
to deal with our issues that right now we're all trying to quick catch it.
Yes.
What's your name, sir?
Alan Pothead, sir.
Alan Pahaja. This is the Objective Opinion. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Alan Pahaja. How you doing, man? And you? Where are you from? I'm from New York City. The Objective Opinion, Brick TV. Brick TV.
Because nobody can give me straight
See?
answers.
We get around. He's still active.
Not just.
It's like your other it's like your other one.
I know, I have 2 questions, and nobody can answer.
Okay, my brother. Thank you. Send me an email.
I definitely will.
And we're going to keep pushing to get more interviews from more people as they come outside of this event, especially the elected officials that are actually pushing for that position, which is very important because I don't know if they're going to slide out the side door, but we're going to find out. Excuse me, we have one right here.
Hi. I'm straight to go to the bathroom.
Oh, go
No, it's
back
okay.
and
No,
come
it's okay. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Okay, so
Hi.
listen.
Hi. What's your name?
This is Abdul Hakim for the Objective
Nice
Opinion.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
We need you to tell us exactly how long you've been doing this and where you been.
Ooh. Where have I been? Well, I live in Queens. I live in Astoria, technically Long Island City. I have been doing good government work. I have been doing reform, and literally my job is to be a watchdog for a decade. I started out as an activist. I've also been an activist. I was a pretty well-known Bernie Sanders supporter, fighting the fight very, very early on, organizing my New York, going across the country, campaigning for progressive issues. I was part of the platform committee to pass the most progressive platform in the Democratic Party's history.
Yeah, I seen that part.
You saw that part. But in
Did you guys see that?
Yeah, but in particular, I think that the part that has to do with New York is I got my start investigating corruption in New York. And that is in holding lawmakers accountable with the Accountability Project. That was literally the title of the organization. And we funded journalists to go out there and figure out why communities were not getting proper resources, why politicians were not delivering on what they said that they were going to do. There's a lot of politician talk right now. The public advocate's office is not a political job. It is a job for somebody, I mean, the first public advocate and Betsy Godbout, they were not politicians. They were people who were advocates for people who had consumer advocacy backgrounds, legal backgrounds, and were independent of politics. And I think that's really important that we bring the integrity back to this position.
So, moving forward, you do know you got some competitive competition over in New York.
Sure.
Starting with a candidate that ain't even here.
So,
And that will be?
I don't know if anybody else has declared yet, but
Tony Herbert has declared.
who's Tony Herbert? Tell me about Tony Herbert.
Yeah, Tony Herbert.
There's a lot of people.
Tony Herbert.
A lot of people.
Jamani Williams,
Yep.
at this point, is his main contender. So
Sure.
that's why I'm asking you, maybe I was like, okay, I see you do other things,
Yeah.
but the public advocate is a big avenue.
Yeah.
And it's an advocacy, and as you say, you was in Queens, so I got a frame, we don't know yet. We're gonna go back to Queens now. We're gonna broaden our horizon. We're gonna actually take on Queens moving forward, because this is something that got to get done. Now, moving forward for the Democratic Party, what's your position as far as the Nancy Pelosi going for
Well,
a seat again?
I mean, as public advocate, I think that we should remain neutral in that. That's not really our position. I think we have to leave it up to a new generation of congressmen and congresswomen who have been elected. And there's a younger generation there that obviously wants to see some sort of changes. And if they do support Nancy Pelosi, I hope that it reflects the future of the Democratic Party. And then there's a transition away from the corporate Democratic Party.
Okay, one more question, and I'll let you go.
That's good.
2020 presidency. Who are you
Oh my God,
hoping
it's too
for?
soon, too soon, too soon. I think it's a
Go on,
scheme.
go on.
Oh wait, you know what else? I'll give you my professional punditry.
Okay, go on.
Very simple. Donald Trump has a dangerous movement. He has partnered with the Republican Party that was not on his side originally. The Republican Party is invested in every single community, every locality in this country. The Democrats are not. So whoever is the next presidential candidate for the Democratic Party needs to have a movement. And I can only see one candidate right now that has a movement in every single community in the country.
There you have it, an objective opinion.
But I'm not,
And
I'm not endorsing, it's a recognition.
and your support. Bernie, you do have a point. But you should have never backed down when you went against Hillary. Because he did take the back seat. You actually won that battle. You won it.
I
But
don't,
he
you
took
know,
the back seat.
I don't want to go into retrospect too much. I think we got to focus on what's local right now. We get so distracted by presidential races and these big races, and we forget about what the integrity of these local offices are. You know, the integrity of these offices, like the public advocate, is really about holding local powers that be accountable, investigating them, and pushing progressive policy. It's not a show horse position, it is a workhorse position.
There you have it, an objective opinion. Thank you very much. Listen, hold on, see, I'll be remiss if I don't do this. Everybody got to get these thoughts.
Everyone's got to get these cards. Thank you.
And we're coming to Queens.
I love it. Come to Queens. Very nice to meet
You
you.
already know that.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very
Take
much.
care.
Would it be possible to Mark Green, any of his successes have done
No, but they have the resources to direct you in the right direction. In terms
That
of,
doesn't
I don't know
mean
the
that you
specifics
can't
of the things they have to
function, and I think
reach out
to a
to.
significant degree, I'm hearing
Best
some statements that lay
in
out
regards to
that.
this. I don't know enough about.
I think there's a bit of a concern
You
that
know,
I
but
have,
the
that
office
half
is
these guys
going
want
to the
control
direction.
of
They might not
without
succeed.
realizing.
And that's the concern that a lot of people are holding. And we're way beyond the sound bites. I mean, people got talking points. We got talking points all day. But talking points don't get the job done. So we need you guys to focus on what are you going to do and tell us that. And then we'll determine if you are actually eligible for the job. Because this is the job. At all times. Thank you, my good man. Oh, this is Mr. Bush with Objective Opinion. Okay. I'll be remiss if I don't get you the call. That's right. Email me. Oh, one more question for you before you go. Because democracy is being threatened at this present time. Moving forward, who you see us running for presidency?
Thank you very much.
I mean, I probably the people that I would look towards people like Kamala Harris, people like Elizabeth Warren. I think Bernie's had a shot, and I think we should step aside for some different blood. Okay. I think most of them are accepted. The only people who I think shouldn't be running is Hillary, for obvious reasons. And
You do realize she's actually talking about that.
I don't think it's serious. I think that's Mark Penn. I think Mark Penn is making mischief with this sort of these Fox, Lieberman, that kind of stuff. And I'm not. And what I've heard so far, listened to Kristen Miller, Hildebrand, I'm not be happy. I think that to run for the presidency of the United States, to vote Democrat because we're more moral, is a guaranteed mechanism to continue 4 more years of Trump. And I think that, so that I would feel fairly strongly against Hildebrand. Look, all of them, with rare exceptions, will vastly superior to Trump. And I think we really don't care which of them is nominated as long as we beat Trump.
Thank you, my good man. There you have it on objective opinion. We really got to get a real contender to go up against Trump and his victory moving forward for 2020. We're going to see if we can catch Jamani. Jamani, come here. Where you going, man? You trying to get away? Oh, no, you don't. Come here. Got Jamani Williams, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Jamani Williams here, one of my comrades, well known in the community, a true activist. Now, Jamani.
That's why.
When I ran for lieutenant governor, I actually was using this position as an example of what it means to have. So it makes sense now to actually look at
They all been there. Okay, so let's say, right now, because me, I always been talking about unify the Democratic Party. The response was too far to the left to do that. Now, that was before Trump. Of course, you take care.
I'm always in favor of unifying the party. That usually means when we're hearing it from party lead, that usually means activists be party. So if we're going to unify, we have to have respect. When we bring it up, because it's quiet. So we're going to bring it up.
Until they chip the next time.
Hold on. You got what you talking to? I was there when Bernie Sanders was on the brink of actually doing something. And I went to all my elected officials. And I said, why are you guys supporting Hillary?
Now that you that's fine. I was going to do it.